Hello, and thanks for joining us again on this edition of Weekend Deal. My name is Elizabeth Abai, and of course, we are reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, as at now, if you're watching me, it simply means that I am in charge of what you're watching while you're on this station. Possibly that makes me a leader. So, what am I saying? We have different types of leaders, different types of leadership depending on the environment. The absence of leadership in any society, community, it's at the same time, it causes absence of peace, unity, or more or less what you want to call anarchy. That is not what we want. A lot of times people behave according to the leadership they get. That's a quote. At the same time, the people, it is said, get the leadership they deserve. The challenges of leadership is our focus today because a lot of times things happen around us and we blame it on the type of leaders or leadership we have. All right, if you ask the average Nigerian, why is it that you're not waking up early? He'll tell you, leave me alone. It is the leadership we have. Why do you not have food on your table? It is the leadership we have. Why are you behaving the way you're behaving? It is leadership. Everything is blamed on the leadership, which leaves me, thinking, what are the challenges of leadership? Are they really the source of our problems? I mean, all of the problems? I don't know, but that will be what we're going to be looking at throughout today and tomorrow. But let's kickstart the day with Suleiman's backgrounder.
It is argued that the myriad of problems Nigeria is facing today are the effects of poor quality of leadership at all levels. Over the years, this has failed to transform the commonwealth of the nation towards national development for the prosperity and well-being of the vast majority of the people. Some analysts have argued that Nigeria's underdevelopment is not for the absence of resources, but a developmental challenge caused by the lack of capacity at leadership levels, owing largely to the quality of individuals who vie for political positions. These leadership challenges are evidenced in political, social, and economic instability and the prevalence of ethnic, communal, and religious crises and infrastructural challenges. The effects of the failure of leadership, corruption, and bad governance are visible and felt across all sectors and segments of the Nigerian society. Leadership and good governance are crucial to realizing any giant stride taken in pursuit of development anywhere in the world. The quartet of Nnamdi Azikiwe, Tafawa Balewa, Ahmadu Bello, and Obafemi Awolowo could aptly be described as Nigeria's founding fathers who are highly celebrated years after their demise. Their footprints are evident in virtually all sectors of our national life.
One of the things we try to do is to deify dead people. When people die, we think that they were perfect. They were good leaders, the people you mentioned, but they were not perfect. In places where leaders share their vision and the followers accept and take ownership of the vision, you will turn up that the leadership principle, the leadership attribute tends to move from one generation to the other. It grows beyond the person, individual, the individualist.
An accountable government is one that is responsive to the demands of the citizens, and this is best enforced through an independent judiciary and the rule of law. Although corruption is a global problem, Nigeria appears to suffer greatly from this menace.
Where governance is good, even a bad leader will become good because the system will straighten the bad leader. Because we have very weak institutions, we don't have structure that ensures that compels the leader to follow laid down regulations. If you work in a bank, everyone who works in a bank would like to go on with some sheets of naira notes. They'll love to. If you have to count $10,000, $10,000, you're counting hundreds of dollars every day. I mean, if there are no rules and there's no system to check you, you put some in your pocket and you easily forget it in your pocket and take it home. But the system in the bank does not allow you to forget anything. Doesn't even allow you to put your hand in your pocket. That's the same thing we need to introduce to the system of government. Put a structure in place that does not allow the leader to put his hand in the till and put it in his pocket.
The lack of clearly defined ideology has greatly hindered good leadership in Nigeria. Rather than pursue political contests with ideological frameworks, politics has become a contest for personal interest as against national interest. This is directly linked to the growing political apathy of the masses. In a country of over 200 million people, the 2019 polls recorded less than half of that number of registered voters.
You see, you only demand what you know. If the followership are on their own, great part of the problem for their leaders, it's difficult for them to demand for accountability. Followers, in most cases in Nigeria, tend to make electioneering expensive. They actually encourage corruption. Because when a man, the man's income is 100,000 naira, and then 500 people ask for 100,000 naira from him in a month, where is he supposed to get it from? He will have to dip his hand into the till to be able to meet their needs. It's easy for us to compare democracy in Nigeria with democracy elsewhere. There's no other part of the Western world where a legislator has to pay school fees for a constituent. It's not part of responsibility. There's no other place in the Western world where a legislator will be required to build roads, to build bridges, to provide water. It's not his responsibility. His responsibility is basically to provide legislation. But in Nigeria, the average citizen does not even think that making laws is important. For him, it's not important. What's important is how much has he brought home to share with us. That's the root of our democracy. It's the root of the rot in our democracy.
Addressing the challenges of leadership in Nigeria requires sound ethical leadership that is rooted in respect, service, justice, fairness, and honesty. Leaders who place fairness at the center of decision-making. Stay with us on Weekend Deal as we interrogate leadership in contemporary Nigeria.
All right, from Ibadan, I will be showing you my guest right away. She is someone who is doing a whole lot for different people, and I'm particularly excited because she's a woman. Join us as we welcome Honorable Miriam Odinaka Onuaha, the Chairman, House Committee on Disability. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
I want to go
Good morning.
Immediately ask you, you're a woman, how did you clinch the ticket?
Well,
Because they say it's difficult.
every good thing in life doesn't come easy. Politics and electioneering is not different. So I would agree with you that it wasn't easy. You're aware that almost every primary election being conducted will always come with one form of fallout or the other. So having gone through that a couple of times, this was my third time to go through this, and I've also run on that different party platforms before I got through to this APC ticket, which brought me to the House of Representatives in 2020.
That's a nice one. Now, I always, I have tried to look at different concepts of leadership, different types of leaders. And I noticed one thing running through it. It didn't really spell out gender. So it's not a male thing. It's not a woman thing. But I've also found that it's difficult for us to actually vote in for a woman. Is it that there is something not right? I mean, what is the place of a woman in leadership?
Like you've said, leadership and politics and governance has no gender coloration. But for me, The reason you don't have a lot of women in politics is because chiefly our society is patriarchal. We are more of male dominated, and we have this wrong perception that a woman's place falls in the kitchen. And over the years, I believe that sentiment is being overtaken by the increasing number of women in active participation in politics right now. So I don't think we are still in the years where women coming into politics was seen as something odd or something awful. Is a term that everybody has come to live with right now. And watch women with a lot of activism and awareness and opportunities. A lot more women have been encouraged, even by the male folks. We have a lot of he for she now. It used to be very difficult to convince your male counterparts to talk about opportunities and support for women, but it's beginning to get traction. So we're getting there.
All right, our focus today really is challenges of leadership, because we're trying to find out why are we not getting it right. As a woman who is, been elected to a position, I'd like to share your experience, particularly your challenge as a woman being in the House.
Being in the House of Representatives as a woman, my core challenges would be personal expectations from the electorate. The reason you are voted, first of all, is to serve. And service would be in the overall interest of your constituency. Yeah, and being elected to serve as a legislator, first of all, your primary role and duty is to make laws and make valuable contributions to topical and national issues, to bring development to your constituency by way of bills and motions and oversight, basically, to ensure that the executive is kept on point with the mandate it's sworn to deliver. But you see that right now, maybe because of the growing ignorance or unawareness of the electorate, the pressure is more now on the elected, the people in office, to begin to do the things that they are not supposed to do just to earn the confidence of the people who voted you in. So the pressure,
like my lecturer would say, e.g.
The pressure is
e.g.
more.
Example.
Yeah, well, since I came into the House of Reps, I'll tell you that I met a very emotional and painful situation where I've seen colleagues die from pressure. And they'll say, oh, the pressure from constituency is killing us because someone's wife is pregnant and you're the first person to be called. Someone has just put to bed, and the first call is, call honorable, we're in the hospital, my house rent is due, someone had an accident, school fees, and so on and so forth. So you are faced with the challenges of meeting the people whom you really love with their particular need. And you're caught in between attending to their particular needs and the needs of the generality of the community and the larger society. So for me, it's a lot more challenging, especially at a time when you have so much at your stable to deal with, to be able to bring your constituency or your area of influence to limelight. So I think that's a very big issue. Maybe government needs to really engage a national orientation agency to go on an awareness campaign.
Of what?
To educate the electorate on what to expect from your leaders. What to expect from whom you are electing as a local government chairman is different from what you expect from who you are electing as a legislator, for instance. Someone who is coming to your state house of assembly, federal house of representatives, your senator, or your governors. Their expectations differ, and the electorate need to be well tutored on what to expect from this, so that there is not what you call undue expectations, where people see you elected not because they are expecting that you will perform well, but because they're expecting that meal tickets will begin to come from
as
you.
you're speaking, something is just going on in my mind, and I think I want to voice it out. If someone calls you to pick a bill and you don't get to pick that bill, I mean, you don't give the money, what's the consequence? Are you tied to it?
Well, you're not tied to it, but these are people whom you really love, and coming through campaign, you make a lot of promises, and your promises don't really go around personal financial commitments to people, but you are being judged by the general public by way of your welfareism.
You just said something. You said when you're doing campaign, you made a lot of promises. Could it be that one of those promises is that you will take care of them, which is why they now call you at such time of need?
I don't think anybody goes to campaign and the promises you make is, don't worry, whenever your wife gets pregnant, call me. When the baby arrives, I'll be there. If there's an accident, just call me. And nobody does that. But, some of these things are implied. That we are in a social environment, and we are Africans. So we live in a society where each one help one. But the point is that there is also a limit to what your expectation should be, even from an ordinary friend. Mm-hmm. It's not something that should be the basis or the yardstick for measuring performance. Performances should be measured by your way of of what your core mandates are spelled out to be. As a legislator, for instance, how many bills have you been able to make? How many motions have you been able to raise on the floor of the House? How much do you contribute when issues of national importance or interest are being discussed on the floor of the House? And how much of federal or public interest presence do you attract to your constituency? Your ability to lobby and negotiate to bring good things for your people. Those are the things I would think that would be what you'll be used to be assessed for, but not excessively how much of a personal or individual need that you are able to attend to.
All right, I know I'll still get back to what you just said, but let me move to your specific function as a chairman, of a certain
House committee,
a group of people, the House Committee on Disability.
Special people.
They are special people, really, because it's not just they are special people. I always say we are special people, because give or take, if you can look inward, all of us are disabled one way or the other. Correct. Probably one person's zone is more visible, pronounced than the other person. Correct. So I'm trying to find out, a lot of us who are disabled, very clearly disabled, do not have much opportunity to be in leadership. As a chairman of such a group, what are you doing about it?
Well, first of all, we in the disability community are referred to as persons with or persons living with disability, not disabled. Because in the global balance, you put the person before the disability. Mm-hmm. Persons with disability are normal. Disability is just a reduction in your ability to perform what you ordinarily would have done at a faster pace. Maybe you have reduced mobility, you have reduced reduction in senses or activities, but it doesn't mean a complete absence of your ability to perform. So I see persons with disability as a special group who desire and who actually should get the kind of support that they need from the society. I don't see issues of disability and what should come to them as welfare or favoritism or a favor. It is a right. Nigeria is a signatory to the Conference on the Rights of Persons with Disability, and we have also passed the Disability Act. So it empowers persons with disability with the legal instruments and the enabling environment to thrive just like normal persons. But like you said, there are so many challenges. While the Act provides that they should have unfettered access to public buildings, they should have access to public transportation, accommodation, healthcare, and education, which is very, 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 very important. If one is not properly educated, how do they fit into public life and politics and public space? So if they are not properly educated, which the Constitution and the Act provides that free education for them up to secondary level, I would think that one of their challenges would be coping with early childhood challenges for children with disabilities who have to battle a lot of years, lots of years before they can catch up with their peers to even come up to the point of politics. So it becomes double tragedy when a person with disability goes through all of these hurdles and is not properly integrated into society to be able to participate actively in politics. Part 6 of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act of 2018, Section 30, guarantees this participation in politics and public life for persons with disabilities, and that is not very much.
Okay, no, you have told us a whole lot about what the Act says. I want to ask you specific questions on what you're doing, with regards to the public assets, access to public buildings, and of course, active participation. And we still have the Chairman House Committee on Disability seated with us, Honorable Marian Odinaka Onoha. And behind the camera, we're talking about things that should be done for the persons with disability or living with disability. And you talked about flights and all of that. You want to enlighten us more, and especially I like solutions.
Yes. Like the Act I was talking, the Act provides that persons with disabilities should be encouraged to participate in politics and public life. And persons with disabilities should enjoy enabling environments provided by government for them to participate actively in politics and their public life without discrimination. And that they should also be allowed to participate in activities, non-governmental organizations, associations that are concerned with issues of political life in Nigeria. And then also says that they should be supported to participate in activities and administration of political parties. And what that means is that persons with disabilities have a right to vote and be voted for. Persons with disabilities actually do vote. And that right shouldn't end by voting. They should also be a part of the political process, such as party administration. And as it is right now, only a few political parties, I can say the APC, has their structure from the ward to the national, where a particular seat is designated for persons living with disability. That is in tandem with the provisions of the Disability Act. How can you even encourage persons with disability to participate in politics when they are not a part of the story? If you don't bring them to the table, how would they be able to talk about issues that bother them? So I think that is a step in the right direction and a very noble feat that other political parties should copy. I also think that INEC should mandate other political parties to ensure that, first off, if we must vote for you, we should also be a part of the cooking, a part of the baking of the cake. All right. Persons with disability in politics also go through a lot of challenges, like I was talking about accessibility. We recently conducted an investigative hearing against alleged discrimination against persons with disability by airline operators, chiefly Dana Air. who would not carry passengers on wheelchair. And imagine if that person was an aspirant with disability running to catch up an appointment through a political process. You are obviously cut out. So most of these challenges are very obvious, and my committee is set out to ensure that the full interment and implementation of the Disability Act comes in force, and the Act makes it a criminal offense, criminalizes discrimination against persons with disabilities.
Okay.
And the solution is that the persons with disability have a right to sue.
Right,
and
so
seek redress.
If we cannot sue on our own, I'm sure that we know what to do. You know your chairman.
As a committee also,
so
we are embarking...
I can use you to assess my rights if somebody
As a
decides.
committee, actually, we are embarking on a process that will measure performance of MDAs to the implementation of the Disability Act, financial inclusion for persons with disabilities, where it is easier for bankers to open an account for you, but you cannot access the banking halls because you're on the wheelchair.
All right.
There's a lot of issues.
There's a whole lot, definitely, a whole lot. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And we'll be speaking with the Chairman, House Committee on Disability. Of course, she is Honorable Marian Odinaka Onoha. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, if you're still with us, it's been hot and it's been weekend deal, and we planned it this way to ensure that we get things right, because the spine of every society is still leadership. And if you ask me, that leadership is still you and I. I have yet another guest with me in the studio who is the leader for the Progressive Youth Movement of the APC. He is my guest and will be speaking. His name is Prince Mona Mustafa Audu. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, I saw the heat, the way you walked into the studio, and I was like, that's gallant. I think that's how they say it.
I believe so.
The youth is gallant.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
and I was wondering, but when earlier on today I took the newspaper headlines, a particular story caught me and I wondered at it. I think it was a blueprint. If my director can quickly give us a bit of that, I'll be quite appreciative. Blueprint, it said 2023, power not served, Alakata, youth told. And I know Alakata is a French word where you just go in and take.
Yeah.
You know, it's something you have to work for.
Yes,
What's your take on that?
That's absolutely correct. You know, we encourage all young people to be involved, just like the blueprint highlighted, power is not served a la carte. But in reality, there is no blueprint for taking power for young people. Though they say power is not served a la carte, there is no room for us. You know, we have to go in there, work hard for it. And to be honest, as the Progressive Youth Movement, we've shown young people that it is doable. The reason that the APC has a convention today is strictly because of the Progressive Youth Movement. In November last year, we said we were going to do a convention in February because the APC wasn't ready to do a convention. We also said when we did that, the governors met and went to Mr. President and asked for a February date. We did not stop there. We decided that February 26th will be the date that we pick. We inaugurated our committees and picked February 26th to do our convention. Immediately that happened, the CCPC sent the DSS and the other security agencies after us. But we did not falter, we did not stop. We believed that we were on the right path. We needed an APC that was fully functional. And after investigation, our report was handed to Mr. President that we were truly genuinely interested in progress of the APC. And this is why we encourage all young people to make a decision and stand firmly by it. No one will give this to us, but if we put our hands long enough in the fire, then we can accomplish and take whatever it is that we want. That's
you know, I want to pick up from where you stopped. You said, put our hands long enough in the fire. I don't want to believe leadership is fire, because leadership, a leader is said to be, you know, either born or made. So that means if you put your mind to it, you can actually get to it. It's something you learn over time. How much of our youths, because you are the chairman or the leader of them, how much of our youths have availed themselves of opportunity of sitting at the foot of our elders to learn leadership?
I know many of them, many young people have spent many years besides older leaders and have learned quite a lot. Myself, though I am young, I've been in politics since, I think, 2005. So
I was
this
ready
makes...
for you to say from your mother's womb.
No, no, since 2005, I used to follow my dad, late Prince Abubakar Audu, for a lot of political events. I used to go to the jungle, to the villages, to propagate the party. He was always opposition. So I learned, and I know many young people have learned. And not just that, they've applied themselves. And Mr. President made it easier when in 2018, he signed the Not Too Young to Run bill. I am an advocate of that. And to be honest, once he signed that, I ran for governorship for Kogi State. But the truth is that the moment Mr. President signed the Not Too Young to Run bill, the price of forms went from 5 million for presidential to 50 million.
Wow.
For governorship went from 2.5 million to 22.5 million. And likewise other positions. So yes, on the one hand, you have Mr. President that wants to encourage young people, but you also have elements in the system that want to discourage young people by setting barriers that we cannot surmount, or they believe that we cannot surmount. But in today's age, with crowdfunding, with a lot of people understanding the need to be involved in politics just like us, and telling our leaders that we are the largest demographic in the country. It's either you go along with us or you go along with us. There is no other option available. This is our country. We want a better country. The APC, Mr. President, they've tried so far, but there are many lapses, and these lapses can be surmounted by infusing young people with competence into the system. This will change the narrative. This is why we've come about. We believe, just like referencing power is not served a la carte, it isn't served a la carte. But if you stand up, you fight for it, you work hard, you're consistent. You see, consistency changes everything. You must be principled. You must wake up every day and go to bed every day, pursuing the same goals and the same dreams, and you will succeed. That's how it works.
Since you made reference to that statement again, I would like to real quote down. One of the writers there said, youths have been governors, youth have been this and that, and there was no good example set by them. In fact, things went the other way. I think that quote was ascribed to Abdurrahman. I'd like to know, do you think, maybe he could be wrong, our youth, are they really ready for leadership?
To be honest, I believe he's wrong. Our youth are ready for leadership. And, there's no point highlighting one example and using that stick to flog the entire youth. It doesn't make any sense. If you look at the population of the elders in position of power today, you see that 90% of them are the elders. But there is a real problem in Nigeria. Therefore, 90% of the population in leadership positions are the one causing the issues. There are many young people in many positions. I know many EDs, many directors, even governors. There are even older governors that infuse young people into the system. The Kaduna example, with competent young people in the system, same as Borno with Zulum, same as Lagos, many places. We're looking for a balance. We don't want it to be entirely youthful, and we don't want it to be entirely elderly. We want that fine balance between young people and the elders, but the key word in between is competence. We don't want young people for the sake of being young. That doesn't make any sense. In every other field young people are performing, it's the best of young people. If you look at the entertainment industry, it is the best of us. If you look at the financial industry, it is the best of us. Healthcare, the best of us. So why is it in politics they bring the worst of us simply to represent their interests? This is why if we keep quiet as young people, then the story will never change. You cannot be doing the same thing and expect a different result. That's the definition of madness.
This argument we're having here, we had a bit of it on social media, and someone said young people want to be in leadership, but if you go back, a lot of them are supporting the elderly ones. They make noise for people, the older ones in social media. Quite quickly, what's your take on that? Because they don't seem to support young people.
I'll talk about the APC chairmanship coming up, for example, right? There are many people who have decided to run for it, both of the older generation and the younger generation. But us as young people, we've come together and we've narrowed it down. We've narrowed it down. First, we narrowed it to 5 people, then we've narrowed it down to 3 people. And now we're doing an assessment over the next few days to narrow it down even further. Do you understand?
Okay.
So we want, we're going into a 2023 general election, for example. We want an agile chairman, a chairman that knows and understands the vigors and rigors of the election. You're going around the 36 states of Nigeria. APC has its work cut out. We have not performed. Therefore, we must work extra hard to win back the faith of the people. The people are like jilted lovers. They loved us, they gave us their vote, they expected something from us, but what they got in return is not what they expected. Therefore, they feel slighted, they feel, let down, for lack of a better word. Therefore, but as young people, we know that the reason why the APC has not been perfect is simply because there are not enough of us in the system changing things.
I like the passion with which you speak, but do you also understand the fact that a lot of young people don't want to go around the corridors? I always take my time to monitor elections, and the queue on the line, for me, is still more than 50% the elderly people, and I'm wondering, what are the consequences of not getting involved? But let's have Dayo answer that question.
The participation of citizens in the electoral process of any nation is a civic responsibility expected of every eligible voter. The right to vote and be voted for during elections would usher in leaders in various elective positions.
Any nation or any society that has been saddled with or has been unfortunate with having bad leadership in that society has a number of issues that they would have to face. And at the top tier of those issues would be corruption. Corruption would give way to a bunch of other issues coming around. When you have corruption at the helm of affairs, you have nepotism, you have tribalism, you have favorism, you have poverty in that society, you have bad governance in general, you have insecurity. These are the issues that happens when there's bad leadership in that society.
However, since Nigeria returned to democratic rule in 1999, the turnout of registered voters has been abysmally low compared to other democracies in other parts of the world. In 2015, the Independent Electoral Commission registered 68,833,476 Nigerians, but of which only 29,432,083 voted in the presidential election. Similarly, in the 2019 presidential election, only 28,614,190 voted to elect the president out of all the voting population of about 84,004,084. This is the situation across board from local government elections, state assemblies, national assembly, and governorship elections. This has, to a great extent, affected the quality of individuals being thrown up for elective positions, leading to the emergence of people with questionable character without the capacity to govern, but only interested in their personal interest.
The effect of low turnout is that the people get the, candidates that are available. If you do not come out to vote, you get what is on ground. That is when things like vote buying comes into play. That is when you get people who are not fit for the positions that they come in. Most times, it's our fault because we do not, we as the people, don't stand up from complaining and go out to change the narrative by voting for leaders who are accountable, leaders who are good for the position and leaders who are trustworthy. We always leave it to they will change the system at the end of the day, or they will change the vote, so why should I even bother? But that's not the case. Every vote counts. So that is why us as people should stand up, get our PVCs, go out and vote credible leaders for credible positions.
Voter apathy is a threat to democracy if not properly addressed. For instance, electorates would not have the luxury to vote out non-performing and incompetent individuals if they don't participate in the political process. In addition, those in position of power would have little or no accountability to worry about if the electorates shun the electoral process. Now, we can't have that, can we? We need to do better.
For leadership position in any organized system.
Anybody who is always looking for fame, who want to be known by each and every individual in the society, the best way in which such an individual could do that is to vie for leadership position. If you look at the power that is associated with a leadership position, sometimes it encourages an individual to vie for leadership position.
These three factors or more are what determines performance in any leadership position all over the world. Over time, Nigerians have bemoaned the quality of political leadership in Nigeria.
If you look at the recruitment process generally in Nigeria, it is taking a very terrible dimension. There is job racketeering everywhere. You cannot get a job, you cannot get any leadership position unless and until you have a godfather, you have the money to pay. And when you find yourself in a community where job is being sold, where recruitment process is not based on principle of merit, then you shouldn't expect any sustainability from such a system.
Today, I fulfill one of my major campaign promises in my manifesto that we will today officially announce the launch of Anambra Talent Hunt Data Bank.
Recently, the social media has been leaked with the rollout plans of the process of recruitment into public offices in Anambra State by the incoming leadership of a professor of economics. And one wonders why this has not been replicated at the 3 tiers of government.
If we limit the team selection for the next government and for those who will be offering us advice and so on to only those that I know or those who know me, then that's not up to 5-10%. We need everybody who has something important, who has passion, who has capability, competence, and integrity.
And I want to appeal passionately to the federal government that we need to go to Anambra and ask Charles Oludo, how are you going to do it? Then we can make it a national policy that anybody who's going to occupy public position should be subjected to compatibility test so that we'll be able to know who is eligible to occupy this position.
However, understanding citizens' rights and obligations are key to demanding for qualified candidates for any leadership position. But most importantly is also having the instruments of reprisal and recall of any unperforming public leader, whether they are qualified or not.
All right, when you're contesting for anything, you make promises, it's imperative you keep it, because a promise is something for a lot of us Nigerians we are already looking forward to having. And then speaking of that, we have someone who just joined us who has been in the leadership system, you know, climbing from one ladder to the other since 1987. And as of today, he is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta. I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about. Please welcome Senator Ita Solomon Enang. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
All right. I saw you jogging into the studio. Did you jog all the way from your house?
No.
As an agile leader?
Yes, I had to. I had to practice here.
Okay. Oh, you had to practice here?
Yes. Sir.
All right. You're going to pay us for using our compound as field. All right. Having been in the system for this length of time, I know when you walked in as early as 1987 as a councillor in Akwa Ibom, did you fully understand the concept of leadership of which you were stepping into?
Well, I contested I contested and won councillorship of my local government into local government in Akwa Ibom State in 1988, and I think I was the youngest in the system. And we wanted to make a difference because I had the principle then that you don't stay outside the system to change the system. No matter how, they say it's military, they say it's a diarchy, you have to participate in it to be able to make a difference. And I had that difference. By God's grace, under the diarchy again of the 1992, I was in the State House of Assembly. And as a young man, I had a lot of fight, a lot of challenge of the executive, a lot of challenge of the governor, because we're very young, very small, very just coming out of the university, the head of Aluta Continua. So we just wanted things moved on, and by God's grace, since then we've been on our toes.
You know, for a long time in Nigeria and indeed the world, we have always had bad leaders, bad leaders, bad leaders. I don't know if I still have focus as to what good leadership is. But then I'd like to know, what are the real challenge? Why do we still cry of leadership and the qualities of leaders here in Nigeria?
Unfortunately, a lot of people in leadership go into leadership position for the sake of what they make out of it. Not many people go into leadership position for the purpose of what they want to give back to the system, which is unfortunate. And a lot of people want to take leadership position, contesting election, being a minister, being a commissioner, as what was called in the days of Bolaige as contra politics, you know, or Fayose will call it Bele infrastructure, which ought not to be. People should go into leadership position, first, to be able to change the system. Second, to be able to offer a future for the system. Third, to prepare a future for the family, for the country, which includes their family. I've always maintained that the best love you can show to your children is to educate, make sure that they educate all the children who will grow up with your children. Now, I get still very encouraged when I remember people like Tafewa Balewa, Nnamdi Azikiwe, when I remember all people of that ilk who did not think of how many houses they will build, how many estates they will acquire, you know, but they thought of building a future for Nigeria. And today, many universities, many highways are named after them. So their names has lived longer than the wealth if they had created. So leaders in Nigeria should copy the kind of thing that happens in other countries. What was the quality that Mandela lived for? He lived for humanity. What was the quality that the immediate past chancellor of Germany lived for? Served for, Angela Merkel. He served and left a country. What has happened in all the countries in Europe? All of them have maintained the value of their currencies because the leaders in those countries have not gone to plunder those countries. But in Nigeria, you'll see people come into office just for what they will make and not what they will leave in the system.
You know, when you mentioned Tafla Balewa and Awolowo, Zeke and all of that, it keep resounding in my brain because each time we talk about good leaders, we always go back to them. And I know years have passed since they led Nigeria, in fact, since they left Mother Earth. Is it that we're not competent? Is it that we cannot produce leaders to probably assume the same position we have given to these people, or are we just generally negative?
Yes, we can. We can, but sometimes, like my friend who just was on this program a moment ago, Prince Audu, stated, sometimes they come out and say, look, these people can't afford money to get to different positions. It's not all about money. There is, like what he called, crowdfunding. And there is also a situation where people come out and say, look, we will send you there. But sometimes when they want to send you there, they send you there as an investment, which ought not to be. And at the end of it, you must be able to appoint my son, appoint my daughter into this, appoint me into this, make me, that major project will be done by me. It should be, we should go back to the kind of service, the kind of heart. Like I keep mentioning Mandela. I keep mentioning close to us. Clement Nyong Isong, who was governor of the Central Bank. He was governor of the erstwhile Cross River State. He came back, lived well. His hand cannot be found in anything. His hand, his wife and his children cannot be found in anything untoward. Then yet many of the industries in Cross River and Akwa Ibom states were built by him, and it lived so much. And at the end, I do not remember him. I do not remember anything that can be credited to him anywhere except one house in a back road housing estate and a 505. He lived well until today. His wife still lives long, young, healthy, and everything. So there is something, everything about a name. And Clement Isong didn't have many houses, or more than 2 that I know. But he lives in everybody's pocket. He lives in everybody's house. Today, his name and his face is in the highest currency of Nigeria. Clement Nyong Song, his name and his face is on is on 1,000 naira note, the biggest currency which everybody carries. So, which is the greatest wealth now? So, leaders in Nigeria should just come up and think that it is not, like I remember, it is not what you have that makes you. It is what you are that makes you. It is not. It is the content of your character that makes you. We can build back this country. We can build back with how much you have, how many houses you have, how many cars you drive. If it collapses, if there is something wrong, you can't even drive or run with one.
You know, there's
Therefore, you have to build up, know that public office is service, service and service.
Recently, we woke up to a real bad news. We lost a brother, we lost a colleague, we lost a friend, we lost a great mind, a great brain. It's hard talking about it, but just take it away.
Like a candle in the wind, the life of our dear colleague, Itai Ipan, was cut short. His passage in the early hours of Thursday, 17th February 2022, came to the entire NTA family as a rude shock.
It is sad when you lose someone who you are close to, someone who you interact with daily, and then suddenly you are told that such a person is gone.
He brought some potentials I never knew I had in me, especially when it comes to outside brokers directing. He will always push me, Ene, you can do this, Ene, you can do this. And I saw myself doing it.
Itai Ipan was a fantastic director with an eye for detail. He was an astute professional and a mentor to many.
When it comes to OB coverage directing, he is very good. And he goes ahead to make sure that his door is raking, knows camera positions, and tell you exactly what to do. He is a program person, but he's already an engineer, because sometimes he argues with you, even if you're an engineer, that this is what he's supposed to do.
It was a sad day, a black day to me as a person, because I know him personally, and I met him in Abuja when I was redeployed from NTA Jalingo. That is 2000, year 2000, and we started working together since ever.
Ita began his broadcasting career from NTA Calabar as a producer, from where he rose through the ranks to the position of Deputy Director Programs, being the last substantive position he held until his death. As Assistant Director Production Services at the headquarters, Ita was in charge of outside broadcast productions, a job he did with so much passion and commitment.
So on Thursday, Ita called me to his office. He said, Alex, you have to take charge of this team. You have to be directing and then be in charge. I don't know. He just said me on Thursday. Barely 1 week, he died.
I don't know what to say, but it's a painful exit for me. Auntie, please, let's start this over.
He made his mark while he was transferred to NTA Channel 5 Abuja, NTA International, and most recently, NTA Programs Directorate at the headquarters. He would be greatly missed by staff of the Programs Directorate and the entire NTA family.
Okay, it's our Nigeria and we must protect it. We must protect our leaders. Don't forget that it is said by different holy books that only God appoints or chooses a leader. Remember the story of the young David. Well, you don't need to love your leader. That is correct. All you need to do is respect your leader. You don't need to like your leader. Just obey rules and regulations. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You know the rest of the story. We'll be right back here tomorrow to pick up where we stopped. Until then, don't forget that good citizenship is part of what we must do for our leaders. Be good citizens.